Hello, everybody, and welcome to My Dad's a Lawyer podcast. I'm taking it today, Noah.
All right.
All right. A podcast about life, the law, and other stuff. I am dad and attorney Brian.
And I'm Noah, son, and also a lawyer. How's it going?
Excellent. Yeah, it's going really well. My camera's a little off, so I want to see if I can get the controller to move it. I feel like to the side of the screen.
Can't you just move the camera?
Yeah, but it's a very sensitive camera. In fact, well, actually, we were going to speak about your sister's wedding and our post-wedding recovery, but the videographer had the camera I have.
Oh,
it's
really?
Like this unbelievable camera, and she had it like attached to a pole with all these controls, and you saw the videos.
Yeah, the videos are great.
I mean,
I didn't realize
my
that.
wedding, it was like a
big
gigantic camera on the shoulder.
Oh, I thought they had one of those too.
They might have. I don't even remember anymore.
Post-wedding recovery, all the photographs are out. If those that follow us on our personal social media platforms have seen all the photographs, the videos, it was a great time.
We only had, I was a little surprised, it was only 3,973 photos from the wedding day.
Right. It was a lot to go through.
Well, what's been nice is I really tried to take my time to really, enjoy and be present at the wedding. But there were situations and scenes and things I didn't even remember. Not just
I know.
maybe, like food or what the table decor really looked like, but there's one picture where I'm hugging your sister and talking to her, and I was like, oh my God, I completely had no memory of that until I saw the photo.
Yes. Yeah, well, you're enjoying it. You did the right thing. You want to enjoy it in the moment.
Yeah. So
these days, people are so obsessed with, the pictures and the phone and this and that. Sometimes it's nice to put your phone down and enjoy the moment.
I don't know about you, but my phone was in the bridegroom, the groomsman's room. I didn't have my phone.
I had it on me, but I feel like I barely even looked at it. Everyone I text is there.
Yeah, exactly. Like anybody, any emergency people that I'm worried about, right?
Right.
Everyone was there.
Right. Exactly. It was a great time, though.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
and Zoe enjoyed it. And the pictures of her jumping up and down are great.
Yeah. And now it's a 10-month countdown to your wedding.
Yeah. Yes.
Very
10
excited.
Months? Yeah, 10 months. It's November already. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Here we
go,
cold
baby. Out. Yeah. I know. It's like 320 days or something like that. 319 maybe now.
Hey, you're the one getting married, not me. So you're counting.
Exactly. All right. So let's move on. I just mentioned this a little bit about the cell phones and these days people being obsessed with pictures and their phones. But let's move on to the old guy question. You ready?
I am ready.
All right. What was your first cell phone and what could it actually do? Now, I know this story. You talked about it before, but tell our audience.
I wonder which cell phone you're referring to, because I have a couple early cell phone stories.
All right. So go ahead. I'll tell you if it's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Okay. So the first cell phone that I really remember. Now, I actually had a pager as well in between telephone lines and cell phones. The first one that I really remember that I used the most was a Motorola flip phone. And you were maybe 3 ish, not even 3 years old, 4 years old, whatever, late 90s, early, and I got a new car. And of course, I'm a young attorney and I had settled a couple cases. So I got myself a fancy little car, and it came with a Motorola flip phone. And it was so cool because you could plug it into the car and it would talk to you, which was really, to this day, it was one of the best features ever. It was so advanced because it really took, I would say, the phone number and it would repeat it back and call. But that was it. You flipped it open and you flipped it closed and you could call people. There was no texting, none of that garbage. I do remember, though, this is the one that you might not know, the first cell phone we had. Your grandfather's 80, back in the late 80s, got a car phone.
I think that's what I'm thinking of.
And
it wasn't yours, it was his, right?
Yeah, it had to be like a large shoebox sized device, probably weighed 30 to 40 pounds. Kid you not. And what you did was you put this thing in the car, you plugged it into the cigarette lighter. Yes, that was a thing, right? Cars had cigarette lighters.
I
So
still have one in my car.
right? So it had a little device that you took out the little lighter and you put that thing in there, so the power went there, and the phone handle had a wire connecting it to the box. It was like a regular phone, but it was somehow connected to the cellular system. So if you do a little Google search for the history of cell phones, they'll show you like the first cell phone in like the late 70s, I think it is, and the guy gets into like a convertible and he's like showing it to you, and it looks like the old fashioned TV and movies where you pick up the phone and it has a
Right.
curly wire, um, and that was like $19 a minute for a phone call or some shit like that.
Well, people always make fun of me. They're like, "Oh, you've probably only had an iPhone or even a BlackBerry." Those were popular when I first started getting my phone. But my first phone was a flip phone. So I remember in, I think it was sixth or seventh grade, I got a flip phone. That was my first phone, and I had to push the numbers to text, like where you had to push 8 3 times to get to the V and whatnot. So I remember. I'm not that young, but I'm not that old.
Seventh grade, because here's the change. You were on the border of old generation, new generation.
Right.
Right? Well, he's not getting a phone until he's in seventh grade. And we didn't even really necessarily want to do it then. And we had like one computer in the house that everybody shared.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Now, if you don't have a cell phone for kindergarten, you know, it's the end of the world.
I know. I know. I feel like Zoe was probably around the same as I was, but I feel like Sophie and Josh definitely got their phones earlier than I did.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And by then it was all phones with keyboards or Blackberries or iPhones.
Yeah, and I remember when the iPhone came out and I went down to 225 Broadway, the old transportation building, and there was an Apple store, an AT&T store, because it only came out through AT&T. And there was this line, and they're waiting for this phone. I was like, "What is this phone? This phone thing?" And I remember getting my first iPhone. I got the first series.
Yeah, you
I
had the
wish I still
original
had,
one.
and I was so confused. I was like, "What's this app crap?" Right? There weren't a lot of apps at the time. And I was like, it was so bizarre. And now, right, you can't live without apps.
I know. There's an app for everything.
Listen, my coffee cup has an app now. You guys got me that Ember
Oh, really?
coffee cup, and
I
this
didn't
coffee
realize it
cup.
has an app. I thought it
So
just heats up your coffee.
it's really cool. You know those little hot plates that try to keep your. So they made this. They made this coffee mug that the kids got me. You got me, right? And not only do you put the coffee or whatever your drink is in it, and it sits on a charging stand, but it has a Bluetooth app and it has presets. So, like black coffee should be 136 degrees. Latte should be a different. Yeah, in fact, yeah, I'm going to look at it right now. It might not connect just because I'm not near it. Yeah, it's not connecting, but it's like really cool. And I got to tell you, it works really well because it doesn't kind of overheat it. It's worked. So thank you very much.
I saw something the other day, and I know you would agree with this. It was like what it's like to live in Westchester, and the guy is talking about paying for parking in every single town. And he was like, somehow I have 12 apps to pay for parking in 12 different towns in the county of Westchester, and every time I go to park, I have no idea which app it is. I have to relog into the app because I haven't used it since the last time I paid for parking in town, and
That
it's
is
just funny.
genius, and it is so true. It is so frustrating. So frustrating.
I know.
And here's two other frustrating things about the apps for parking. The way that th right, you would think that you show up and it would kinda quickly say to you, "Oh, you're in zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5."
I know.
Some a The New York City app does that. The New York City parking
Okay.
app will pop up and show you all the zones right where you are, right? White Plains, it doesn't pop up, and they have, like, one
One
sign
sign. Yes.
next to the pay machine 4 floors away, like, "What the
I
hello?"
know. I know. So I
That's
figured I'd
funny.
bring that up. That's what I was about to bring up before I cut out, but I'm glad we got that in. All right, let's move on to our main topic now. I mean, we've briefly spoken a little bit about this on the podcast here and there, but we're gonna talk. Hold on, I gotta go back to it. talk about your first
First job?
experience or first case where you really felt like a lawyer. So I'm trying to find it here.
Yeah. So, yeah, first case where I really,
Or is
really
there a
felt like
specific
a
client that clicked for you and you were like, okay, I'm
yeah.
actually practicing law?
So, I remember early on in my career, maybe it's a couple years in, I was handling a lot of workers' compensation cases, so it's a very high volume, especially at the time, type of business where all hearings for any injury in New York City were held in a Brooklyn court. And this particular court, the Workers' Comp Board, had something like 40 different rooms, 40 parts, 40 judges. And 3 attorneys, me and 2 other attorneys from the office would go there, and we would spend our whole day there running from place to place to place, handling dozens and dozens and dozens of files because there's an issue in this case, there's an issue in that case, or that type of thing. And I remember, so I got a lot of experience in the first couple of years. I don't really, the first couple of years really recall like any moment where I was like, oh my God, I'm practicing law. But what I do remember is I had a woman a client who was such a sweet woman. And I worked really hard at her case because they were fighting it and something was going on. Hey, could you hang on 1 second? Your mother is screaming at the top of her lungs. I'm like,
I
I'm
heard a little something in the background.
I'm recording. Well, here's Stella. Good girl. Here's Sadie. They get their cookies. Okay. So, um, and I remember preparing the case. And again, this is workers' comp. You do prep, but I remember I had to do some legal research. We did all the stuff. We had a mini trial, and I lost the case, and I was bummed. Now, the workers' comp board was in downtown Brooklyn, right off of Fulton Street. All these stores, Macy's, all that stuff. Abraham Strauss, all these stores. And this was before lunch. I go to lunch, come back in the afternoon. It's kind of towards the end of the day. And somebody comes to the attorney's room and says, Mittman, your client's outside. So I walk out of the attorney's room and there's this woman. And in her hand is a gift wrapped from Macy's. She bought me a shirt and cologne. And she said, I know we lost, but you really did a great job. Thank you.
Wow.
And I got
Wow,
to
that's
tell you,
nice.
Noah, that was like, I was like, wow. It sucked that I lost, but I
Right,
was like, this person really appreciated and saw like all the hard work I did. So that was
right.
like really you know,
Hmm.
the
I know now
first like thing I remember.
I'm trying to think for me. I mean, I've told this I feel like I've told this story on here before early on in the podcast, but one time early on in my career, I went before this judge. I will not say the name, but this judge tends to be very strict and a tough judge, and you have to meet your deadlines. So, in the beginning, even now, I always over prepare. So I want to make sure I have everything set. So even the emails that I have for the case, I print them out in case I need to refer to them. I think the issue was scheduling a deposition and nobody was getting back to me. And I had like 4 or 5 emails over, multiple months where no one was getting back to me. So I'm telling the judge this. He's like, do you have the emails? So, of course, I was very lucky I printed them out that day. I gave him the emails, like a little stack, probably like 10 pages of paper. And he's
Right.
reading through these emails, reading the dates, reading what I said. And then he looks at the other attorney and says, uh, did you respond to this email like that you said you would respond by the end of the day by? He was like, no, I didn't, Your Honor. And he took the papers and threw them up in the air all over the courtroom. I was one. It must have been like my fourth or fifth time ever appearing in court, and that happened. And I was like, I was trying to keep a straight face and not like laugh or say anything.
Oh
And I was
yeah.
like, I was like, everyone in the courtroom like went silent. I was like, oh my god, this is. At first, I was like, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. But now that I look back on it, yeah, I did the right thing, and it turned out well for me. I think we ended up settling the case, but that was one of my earliest memories of court.
Yeah, and I think that goes to like professionalism. Like you do the work, you prepare the work, you do
Right.
the best you can, and again, whether it's a good outcome or a negative outcome, it's you still did what
Right,
you had to do. And
right,
and
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 that's happened before where I've
and I
had
think
like similar
people
to
I
you.
think people know I think people know that and they appreciate it.
Right. Like I've had cases that have been referred to me where, for municipalities, you need prior written notice where they actually had to have been notified of the defect in writing before you get hurt on it. There's rarely ever prior written notice because it's so hard to find. But there was no prior written notice in this case. And, I explained it to the client. We had already done all the litigation, case was in suit, and she voluntarily discontinued it, but she was very thankful about it. And she ended up referring me another case.
Well, that reminds me of a really funny case. I remember getting substituted by this, client, and I was actually really upset,
Okay.
right? She hired another attorney, whatever, okay. Um, and all of a sudden, I start getting referrals of other people from her, and I actually called her up and I said, "Thank you very much." She goes, "Oh, I don't want you to take it personally. I had to hire this other attorney because of my cousin or whatever, but you did a great job, so, I'm gonna send people to you."
Hmm. All
Who
right.
would have thunk it, right?
Right.
I mean, and listen, you and I both very well know, there's a lot of attorneys there that get like really nasty. They take everything so personally and all
Yes.
that. No, people are people. Sometimes, listen, you have some best friends who they do some things. You're like, why am I friends with this idiot? Right?
Right.
But you're
Right.
still friends with them because of other reasons, so
Right.
it's life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, now that you said that, it got me thinking, like, even the clients sometimes, they don't know the law, they don't know what's going on, they're relying on you. And some of the clients don't really know what the process is and the steps. So I had one client that we retained, we started the lawsuit, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I get a call from an attorney, very nasty, like very rude. You're trying to steal my cases, blah, blah, blah. How dare you retain this client after we retained him? I was like, what? When was your retainer signed? It was after our retainer was signed. So our client just got confused. They were contacting him to try to get the case, thought it was us, signed a new retainer with them, went with them. They even started the lawsuit, and this attorney was, blowing me up, so rude about it, wouldn't, give us a referral fee or anything. I was like, you know what? The money's not the issue here. I just don't want to deal with attorneys like that. I was like, you could take the case and I won't fight you on it. And I moved on from it. But, clients don't know. And some attorneys take advantage of that and, are
And
dicks
then
about
what
it.
will happen is one day you're gonna be sitting there reading the New York Law Journal, and he's going to have been disbarred for shenanigans, and you're gonna say, "Bummer."
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that was good going through some law stories.
Nice.
All
Let's
right. Do you have anything
let's
else
see.
for us today?
Funny first job stories. So,
Yeah.
I like to say that, prior to, becoming a dad and an attorney, I had like 14, 15 jobs growing up,
I know
and
you're like, what's the guy's name from that movie that had like a million different jobs? Mom would always call you it. I forget what the name was.
yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, now you got me thinking, but, I had some funny jobs along the way. So I had this one job I got, like, 2 su the summer before I went to college, and it was, like, at the time, there was this, like, store for lawn furniture, right? There weren't the big box stores like they are now, and this guy he was the only importer, like, on the, Philadelphia, New Jersey, East Coast area, of furniture called Brown& and Jordan Furniture. This stuff is sold now at Bloomingdale's, it's out of Texas, it's all fancy it's really good quality, backyard pool furniture and stuff. And so, but during the so, I got a job and I'd help move stuff around in the showroom and then deliver stuff. Right, that was the job. It was a great summer job. We had this van. In fact, when I worked there the next summer, and I was moving back up to college, and I was trying to figure out how to get all my stuff up there because we were moving to a house, and the owner was like, "Oh, take the van." So he gave
Yeah, I
me like
remember that.
I'm like 19 years old, 18 years, yeah, a brand new like Ford van. And my buddy and I just fill it to the brim and we drove up to Rochester, dropped all our stuff off. We filled the van and there are no seats in the van. We threw like 10 people in. We drove to Niagara Falls. I mean, the owner was amazing. But anyway, So during the winter time, the store was converted into a Christmas shop.
Mm.
And yeah, I was like, "Oh, that's cool, whatever." And so one day, like, 500 degrees in August, I come in, and there's this gigantic tractor trailer backed up to the back of the store. And there's this like crazy guy that worked there. He's like, "Hey, Brian, it's Christmas in August." For the next week, we unloaded thousands of boxes of ornaments and fake trees. And we had to walk up these back stairs into this hot attic. And I was like, "Oh my God, what is this?"
Nice.
But, just crazy, fun little things. Yeah, I have 1,001 job stories I could talk about. So
I know you've had a bunch. Also, you were the chef. Weren't you chef in a Mexican restaurant
I
or
was the
something along
second,
the
I
lines?
guess, the sous chef or second line chef at a Mexican restaurant. And I was actually changing from being a mechanical engineer to like political science, history, whatever. And your grandfather was trying to convince me to stay in the Philly area and go to a local school because it'd be a lot less expensive. And the chef got wind of it somehow. I guess Zadie talked to him, and he's like, "Hey, Brian, why don't you switch schools, stay here, and you can be my second in command." It was a Marita's Cantina, amazing Mexican joint. Um,
Nice. I feel like most of my jobs have been in the field of law because of you and Pop Up Paulie. Like I've always known for the
yeah,
most part I want to be a lawyer, but I did have one job that wasn't in the field of law, and that was
yes, you did.
my NYCFC field maintenance job. When I was in college, what was that? Maybe after my sophomore year, going into junior
Yeah, I
year,
think
I
so.
think it was. And you were at some career fair and you found this guy who needed an intern to mow the lawn pretty much, and it ended up having great perks. Like we would go to Yankee Stadium and go on the field and test the field before the games. We would hang out before practice, mowing the lawn, getting it set, painting the lines, and
And
then
and
after
for those that don't
practice,
know, NYCFC is the football club, the
yes,
soccer club in
yes.
New York. In New York, I get a kick out of it because you know, we have gardeners, so you've never mowed the lawn here, you've never like done stuff in the backyard. Now you have more experience. So your lawn, when you have your own house, your lawn should be
I
bad.
know,
Whether
I
you do it
know.
or not, you can tell the guy, "Hey, what are you doing there?"
Yeah, yeah, it was great. Filling divots, replacing, if little weeds are growing, because you need the grass to be uniform. You got to be a perfect surface. So if little weeds are growing, you got to dig it out around it, then replace it with, sod or seeds or something. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. That was a good job. I'm glad that I had a job in college because I think the first year I worked for you doing comp, and then I
Mhm.
did that, and then I worked for you again after that. So it was kind of nice to have something in between
Yeah,
or maybe I worked at camp before and then with you after. But either way,
yeah,
it was nice to have a job that wasn't in the field and gave me some experience of something that I don't really know about or have anything to
yeah.
do
And that's the whole point.
with.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, sir. I'm glad we're back on recording.
Yes.
And at some point we will try to share some check out our social. We have our obviously our wedding pictures and stuff. And
Yes. Yes, and
I
and we'll
am
get some new topics in the coming episodes. We have some ideas for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for everybody for listening and following. And I'm Dad and attorney Brian, and you can follow me at the Disability Guys.
And you can follow me on all socials at a Lawyer. Thanks for joining us today.
Have a good one.